G'day mates, in today's video we're gonna talk about what a lot of people are saying is the worst tournament in Fortnite history, and it took place today as of me filming this video. But I wasn't originally gonna make this video, but a lot of people are very scared. The way this tournament went is how the rest of competitive season is gonna go. We're gonna have the laggiest servers we've ever seen. We're gonna have crazy random rule changes mid-tournament. Competitive team is a joke. What's going on? Twitch Rivals doesn't know how to run a tournament. I need to clear up what happened today because a lot of people freaking out about it. We even have the main person at Twitch for Twitch Rivals running these events tweeting out that people don't know what they're talking about because everyone is freaking out. So I'm going to cover what happened in case you missed it. But if you watched any of the big pros playing it today, and I mean they were pretty much all in there. You had Tfue playing, you had Clicks playing, you had all the competitive guys, Pgod Miro were in there. It was a bit crazy. I'm going to cover what happened in case you missed it because a lot of people are freaking out that the servers are going to be absolutely terrible this season because this was some of the worst lag we've ever seen. Honestly, the servers looked like throwback to chapter 1, early chapter 1, when you had 72 hours, bang, when like the shots weren't even registering. People were rubber banding backwards and forwards. People couldn't even build. Like, it was a nightmare. But I want to explain why that is, and I also want to clear up Twitch Rivals because a lot of people are placing a lot of this blame on them. The ending was completely scuffed. The game literally froze. Everyone got kicked out of the game. They tried to remake the tournament with only the players that were alive at that point in the game. That Chap's team was a solo, so Chap was told he could go in with his team and he could reboot them, but then when he did reboot them, they said, no, you aren't allowed to reboot them, and they ended up getting disqualified and didn't get their money. Not only that as well, the format changed mid-tournament because the servers were so laggy, they had to make it go from builds to 0 build because when there was too many players alive, you literally couldn't move. It's just a ridiculous tournament. I want to cover exactly what happened in detail though, because a lot of people think this is what it's going to look like when FNCS comes around. People saying the new Storm Surge is terrible because the servers can't handle it. And while that's partly true, there is a lot more that's going on. So let me explain to you what happened today and what went down in what will be one of the worst tournaments in Fortnite history. Before I go into what went wrong and what happened, I need to make this very clear. Most of this was not Twitch Rivals' fault. They got very unlucky with the fact that right now, Fortnite servers, especially the custom servers, cannot handle how many players are surviving with the new Storm Surge change. So it's a combination of lots of things. We're at the start of a new season, so the servers aren't going to be fully optimized. We've had a change to Storm Surge, so more players are surviving. We even had some games where there was like 48 people on second rotating zone. There were people healing off the half Storm Surge at 50 at 5th zone until second rotating. It was ridiculous. So you combine that with the fact they're running on custom servers, which I need to make this very clear. For the people freaking out and saying that, oh man, the servers can't handle it, this competitive season is going to be a joke, custom servers aren't tournament servers. Fortnite has something set up, I'm not technical and smart enough to know, but basically when they run events like Cash Cups and FNCS, they're hosted on tournament servers that clearly get a priority. That's why when you see like, 70 players alive in FNCS Grand Finals and there's a bit of lag, it looks way better than when you're running customs with your friends or doing scrims and the servers are an absolute joke. It's because tournament servers get some kind of priority, whether they're better servers or there's just less things going on, they just run better. And I've been asking for years now, literally years, saying that Epic needs to let people, when they run these massive tournaments, run them on tournament servers. You guys remember the FaZe Cup? There was an absolute debacle a little while ago. People started teaming and cheating in the tournament because it was so laggy they couldn't play. They got disqualified. FaZe was super upset. They put up a huge prize pool. It was a nightmare. And unfortunately, today was a similar situation. So it was Pgod's $10,000 Twitch Rival event. If you guys haven't seen, Twitch Rivals are actually giving creators a whole bunch of chances to run their own tournament with a $10,000 prize pool, and they get to pick the format. It doesn't have to be no building, but I'm guessing it needs to have some element of no building because Pgod's first game was 0 build. Then the next 4 were regular arena trios, which was already kind of crazy and scuffed from the start because you had teams that were allowed in like Pgod, Miro, and Pgod. You had Day, Jamper, Tragics, which were the back-to-back runner-ups of NA East FNCS trio. You had Afric Whale, Arkram, and Reet, literally the FNCS winners in as a trio. Like, the teams are already crazy. And then you add in the fact that it's going to be like regular arena trios and building, and everyone was already sketched out. But that wasn't even going to be the worst of their problems because the first game happened, it was no building, everyone was having fun, a little bit crazy, typical 0 building. The games were super stacked. Everyone loved it. Then it switched to building and the servers looked terrible. I'm talking just watching people even on spawn look like they were playing FNCS Grand Final endgames. You could see that they'd break things and it'd register the thing breaking like half a second later. And that wasn't even in the end games. That was just the early games. So I knew we were in for something, but I didn't realize just how bad it was gonna be. These clips were honestly just, people were lagging so bad they couldn't even get mad, they were just laughing. Let me show you what the servers looked like in building Fortnite in customs right now.
I got us above. There's no way we're not.
You're by yourself.
Oh, wait, what? Let me in! I'm shooting nobody!
You're 140, you're 63 below. Oh my god, it's
100?
Oh my god, you're so nasty.
Let me in! There's nobody there! What?
Right, I should be second height. What else are we gonna do?
Yeah. I'm not.
Right, ready. Come.
We're not the most bad, but we have to.
I'm not getting
Get on the pad quickly!
Oh my god.
Guys, quickly get on the pad!
Get out.
They can't even move!
I can't. It's not on me.
They're giving up. They're giving up.
Okay, go up.
We got it!
Alright.
Let's go! Keep going!
It's so laggy.
We're about to start taking.
Ramp! Ramp!
Don't die. The lava will get better. We have height. Straight.
We have height.
Get up higher.
They can't move to get up higher. So as you can see, just completely unplayable. Hilarious, and most of the players are laughing because it's just that bad. You can't even get mad at this point. Like, what are you supposed to do? But if you look at the players alive, there's 44 players on second rotating zone. These are some of the most stacked games we've ever seen, and we're trying to run them on regular custom servers, not even tournament servers. So all of this could have been avoided if Epic just gave access to giant tournament organizers, putting up hundreds of thousands of dollars, give them access to tournament servers. I'm sure it should be possible. Epic, please, for the sake of these giant prize pools and these tournaments, which should be so amazing to watch, please give them access to tournament servers, because Twitch Rivals is now in a super awkward spot where they had to reach out to Pgod and ask him to change the rules to be no building because it was the only thing that could handle the lag. And while you imagine a lot of these pros would be upset, most of them were down for it. A lot of them are enjoying playing the zero build mode. It's better than playing whatever that was, where it's just so ridiculously laggy. So they switched it back to no builds. It went no builds for I think another 2 games, right? So we've had 1 no build, 2 build, and then there we go. So we had 1 more no build game mode. That was fine. And then we went into the 5th game. And mind you, a lot of the teams you expect to be in the top are up there. Blake's team was up there, who's filling in for Sparkles QT. You had Ree's team was up there. Booger's team was up there. We had Team Nate Hill, which didn't feature Nate Hill. He couldn't play, so they had Dubs, Mega, Rocane. I don't get how Twitch Rivals is doing the substitutions, but again, just how they're choosing to run a tournament. And things were going well. They went into the last game. We had 30 players alive, and then that's when you enter the story of Chap. So obviously, Chap, Centered and Cold, not being a favorite to win the tournament. You got Centered and Cold, obviously phenomenal players, just won the Duo Cash Cup. Chap is an absolute OG, one of the best players in Fortnite's history, but he hasn't really played seriously in a while. But they were doing really well, and they were a shoe-in to make money. They were doing the zone heal-off strat. Chap was going crazy, and I think he was doing it at the Synapse. He was eating all the floppers. It was great, but then this happened.
And you saw the setup there. They have the sunbeam. They have the walls, the cow catchers down as well to give them some extra coverage. This is so huge for them right now.
Literally chilling, yeah.
And anything can happen here, but it is what it is at this point. There's still placement points that were between the two. It does seem like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Hopefully things start to iron out here, as we'll give the competitors a couple of moments.
We're literally in the best spot ever.
What a game, man. It was finally there. We're there in the end game. That was the stretch we're looking for. And, you know, these kind of things do happen from time to time.
So what happens? It's going to be crazy. The timing is insane here, Sancho. Like, the leaders go down, and then chaos immediately following. The drama is at an all-time high right now, sir.
At the end of a tournament that has already had so many issues, just absolutely gut-wrenching for the competitors and Twitch Rivals, because they now needed to figure out a way to fairly redo, because at this point the game crashed, everyone was kicked out, and this is when Twitch Rivals had to come up with a solution. And this is when I will say Twitch Rivals could have potentially done better. It's super stressful. You don't really have a lot of options. They would have just reran game 5 as just a completely new game, but by this point half the competitors have already gotten off. I saw that AV was playing Lego Star Wars, Clicks was doing Zone Wars, a whole bunch of streamers ended because usually when you go down the last game, you just, you get off. If you haven't done well in the tournament, not many creators will sit back and then watch how the tournament closes out. So Twitch Rivals now in a position where this game matters for money. There's $10,000 on the line. They can't rerun the game. I would have said maybe at that point, just take the standings from the 4 games. You've already had 4 games. I feel like that's completely fair. Yes, there was a lot of chances for people going into game 5 to win money. You had big teams up, like I said, like Chap's team. As they were talking about, you just had Blake's team go down in first. Pgod, Miro's team was still up with Pgod. They were in a great spot. Like, the game mattered, but once it crashes like that, there's not a lot you can do. But Twitch Rivals tried to be fair, and they wanted to restart the game, but only with the players that were alive in that top 30 situation to see how they play the game out and whether they'd make money. And again, if you guys can understand, there's some big flaws with that one. Not only did they try to rerun the game only with the players and the teams that were alive, they actually wanted to try and recreate it as close to as possible as what the game was. So teams like Chap, who were a solo, they then had to jump back in as a solo. Apparently, again, I can't say this because Chap's VOD wasn't on. I wasn't watching all of it the way I've heard it. So again, I could be wrong here. I heard that Chap's team was told specifically by someone at Twitch for the tournament, he would be able to reboot his teammates once they got into the game, but they weren't allowed to be alive. So they had to get into the game, die, and then he could reboot them, which Chap did. Then apparently he was told he wasn't allowed to reboot them, which ended up resulting in him dying. And then they also got disqualified because they then rebooted the players they weren't supposed to. This meant that Chap's team went from inside the money to just outside. They ended up coming 6th overall, meaning they got $0 in the end, and they would have only needed 4 points to get 3rd. Chap wasn't happy. He didn't take it to social media, didn't take it to Twitter, neither did sent it or cold, so hats off to them. Super frustrating end to a tournament when they would have made money. Chap was healing off in zone. He would have got a few more placements. If the games didn't crash, they would have made money, and it was super upsetting to see. But again, Twitch Rivals were just trying to do the best they can with a crappy situation. They needed to have tournament server actual priorities. They could play these games on proper servers, and obviously the game needs to not just randomly crash in the last game. That's also not Fortnite's fault. Things happen, technical glitches, I get it. The game just crashed. That's going to happen in almost any game, and it has happened in other games. But the fact that it was already so scuffed getting up to that point, just because they did not have access to tournament servers, it sucks. But I wanted to kind of just talk about all of that to cover it because it was insane. Again, the results, as much as it does matter in the end, we did have Pgod, Pgod, and Miro winning it out. So Pgod won his own tournament. We had Sparkle's QT, which was Blake's team. He was filling in the end. We had Somerset's team, which was with Muzz as well. And then we had Team Smacked come in 4th, tied 3rd. And then we had Thief's team in 5th. And like I said, Chat was in 6th, Reet was in 7th. It was an absolutely insane tournament. I just wanted to recap exactly what happened because let's talk about a few things here. So firstly, Storm Surge, honestly, probably needs to be readjusted back to the way it used to be. 10 seconds instead of 5 seconds is way too little. People can just throw down shield kegs. It just feels like no one's scared of Surge, and the games are insanely stacked. And I always love stacked games. You guys know me. I'm all about the end game stacked competitive. But right now, the early and mid game, like I said in yesterday's video, it just feels a little bit too quiet. No one's taking fights. Everyone has their own drop spots. And because Surge isn't a threat, they're just out healing it. You had teams like Calazo who one game were out healing Surge for like 2 whole minutes, and it didn't even look stressful. Just throwing down a few chug splashes, popping some minis, throwing down a shield keg. Like, it's not what Surge should feel like. Surge should be some pressure to get active, take some fights, make things exciting, and it's just not doing that right now. So I believe Surge probably does need to be adjusted. It wasn't as big of a deal in the Cash Cups as what it was this tournament because the Cash Cup servers, the tournament servers handled a little bit better. But as I was already touching on, it is making the early and mid games a little bit boring in my opinion from a spectator standpoint. Have to hear what the pros' thoughts are. I've talked to a few pros who aren't really a huge fan of it. They're saying the same thing as me. It just doesn't put enough pressure on teams who didn't get their Surge. So teams who didn't get their early Surge and didn't play their early game properly are just getting away with poor rotations, which, you know, is never a good thing. Also though, Epic needs to give these giant tournaments priority servers because when you're watching this, it looks so bad for the game. You've got your people who haven't watched Fortnite for a little bit, maybe never watched Fortnite, watching creators like Tfue play in the game, and it makes it look so terrible. Obviously, Twitch Rivals maybe could have done a bit better with a few of their decisions, but again, I think they were getting way too much hate in this situation. I think they did the best they could with what they had, and it's just a tournament we're gonna have to remember as just a little bit crazy, a little bit funny at times. I feel bad for the players who lost out on money, but it's not the last Twitch Rivals we're gonna have. We actually have more Twitch Rivals coming up. They announced that Tfue is getting his own tournament as well, which looks like it's gonna be heavily no build because he's loving no builds. Nick30 got given his own $10,000 tournament. Apparently he's talking about doing some like potential fashion shows and hide and seek. Whether he does that, I don't know. I just heard him teasing that in an interview. Somerset has her tournament, which I talked about, was like a kill race. Elixir's got one in there as well. So we've got some crazy tournaments coming up, and I really hope they go better than today's. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.